Okay, now we're going to get into feedback. Feedback is trying to maintain homeostasis. Remember that homeostasis is a stable internal environment in the body. So this is your body's mechanism to keep something stable, something normal. Okay, so things that have to be in homeostasis, or things that have to be normal. Things like your blood sugar. Your blood sugar is you want it within a normal range. You don't want high blood sugar, you don't want low, you want it within a normal range. Your heart rate is about 72 beats per minute. You don't want it to be 150. If it's 150, it's way too high. You're going to have some problems. Okay, blood pressure is another one. Your pain level. You don't want your pain level to be out of control. You would really like to have no pain. Okay, another one is your body temperature. Normal body temperature is 98.6. You don't want it too high, you don't want it too low. Okay, but that is within normal range because that is called homeostasis. Now, your body has to be able to keep things in homeostasis. The way it keeps things in homeostasis is through positive or negative feedback. So we're going to start out over here with negative feedback because it is the most common. Negative feedback is you're at the baseline. So we're going to go with body temperature here. Okay, so your body temperature is 98.6. That is my baseline. Perfect, 98.6. Then we move away from the baseline. Let's say you go outside, like right now, it's sleeting and gross outside. And so you go outside and your body temperature drops to 98.0. So it is now dropped. Okay, what are you going to do when you get out there? I'm going to freeze and I'm going to shiver. Okay, when I'm shivering, I'm making my muscles produce body heat. And so I go back to the 98.6. And then I come inside and I don't go outside again. Okay, so I'm at the baseline, I moved away from the baseline, and then we are going to return to the baseline. That is negative feedback. Now, the key thing, I know there's a stigma with positive and negative feedback, that positive means good, negative means bad. That's not true. Okay, positive and negative are just two different ways. So on the opposite end, when we look at positive feedback, we start out at a baseline. Now, with this one, I'm going to use childbirth as an example. Okay, the contractions that come with childbirth right before you have the baby. So you're here, the homeostasis that we're talking about is your pain level. So at the baseline is no pain. Then the contractions start. And the contractions, the goal is to produce the baby or get the baby out of the body. So we're at the baseline, no pain. Then we start moving away from the baseline. So that means increasing pain more and more and more and worse and worse and worse. So we're moving away from the baseline. So that means we are experiencing pain. Then we move further from the baseline, which means more pain and more pain over and over. Okay, eventually it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. But then the baby is born and the positive feedback has done its job. And so at that point, positive feedback always has to end in negative feedback. Okay, at negative feedback, we return to the baseline. So that's where the pain goes away and you return to the baseline. No matter what, positive feedback always has to end in negative feedback. Always. Always, always, always. Positive feedback always ends in negative because we have to get back to normal. Now, positive feedback, we have to amplify for a while. We have to make it worse or make it more extreme, but then we do have to return to the baseline. So another example is when you get a fever. Your fever normally tells you you're fighting an infection. So you start out at 98.6, and then your fever comes on and your temperature gets higher and higher and higher. Okay, you're fighting that infection, but then once that infection is gone, you're going to return back to the normal 98.6. Okay, it just has to go more extreme away from the baseline, and then we are going to eventually return back to that baseline. Now, classifying your examples. Most of the time, your examples are going to be negative feedback. So those are like blood sugar, body temperature, blood pressure. Okay, most everything is negative feedback because we get a little bit away from the baseline and then we return to the baseline. But some major examples of positive feedback are like the contractions we talked about, fevers, and then blood clotting as well. That's your basis of homeostasis and feedback.